Well, now today, and it's not as gloomy as it has been, which is quite nice. And I'm riding on the cycle path, you know, the one that nobody ever uses according to motorists. I've also had to stop 4 times at red traffic lights, you know, the ones that cyclists never stop at according to motorists. I've had a car miss me by literally inches, going well over the posted speed limit, and making absolutely no attempt to slow down at a roundabout. And then I was close passed by a bus who was 150 yards from red traffic lights. So close pass, stand on the brakes. And then car drivers like to complain and say that cyclists are the problem. And their solution is get everybody off their bikes and into cars, which of course makes no sense at all. And so you might think, well, why? They want more people in cars, which will create more congestion, more frustration, longer journey times. Why? And there are 3 main reasons. Firstly, people aren't very clever. And this, unfortunately, is something that's reasonably misunderstood because of the huge progress that the human race has made. We're led to believe that humans are clever, but it's not true. There's only a very small group of clever people who drive this technology forward. The next reason is that people are afraid that you're going to take something away from them. By encouraging people to cycle, they feel like they might be forced to do it as well. Rather than embracing the change and saying, yeah, get all those people off the road onto bikes, and I can drive my car freely. No, there's fear. And if you look at any kind of forum, I'm quite old, so I'm still on the Facebook, any kind of discussion about improving cycling infrastructure or public transport infrastructure is met with absolute dissent from car drivers. Claims of how they can't get their disabled grandmother and a week shopping on a bike because, as I said, they think somebody's going to force them. If you're going somewhere on your own and you choose to go by bike, as I do, I can still go and do my shopping in the car, and I do. I don't have a disabled grandmother, so I don't do that. But you can use your car when it's appropriate. And people are afraid. They think, no, you want to take my car away from me. And there's all kinds of comments about it being a communist plot and how they're trying to do 15-minute cities as a way of converting us all into a Soviet style of life, and none of it's true. But of course, as I've said before in previous videos, some of this fear is driven by the motor industry and the oil companies, because they don't want you giving up your car and they don't want you using it less. And I've been going to Swansea on the train and it's really nice. But this week it was engineering works, so there were no trains running for 3 days, which of course was the 3 days that I go to Swansea. So I had to get in the car. And that's my point. You can if you want to. But I choose not to unless I have to, because I was sitting in traffic and there was a hold up on the motorway one day, and that meant I had to go around the lanes, and it's stressful, it's frustrating, parking is difficult, so I'd just rather not do it. And it amazes me that people are reluctant to give that up. Of course, another thing is, when people are sitting in traffic and feeling frustrated and a cyclist goes past, that annoys them. I find that very, very difficult to cope with, because, well, why should you have an advantage over them? I mean, they could just buy a bike, it's up to them, but But that's one of the reasons that they want everybody off their bikes and into cars, because they feel like if it's difficult for me, it should be difficult for everybody. They think that if they're feeling frustrated in traffic, you should be too. Not smiling and waving as you go past, because it's the modern world we live in. Our whole society is geared towards buying an advantage. So people are really afraid, because they think they're going to lose the advantage. So we buy advantage, and they've paid a lot of money to buy their car, which they feel gives them an advantage over cyclists or people in public transport. And when they find that it doesn't give them an advantage, it really sticks in the craw. So rather than look at a way that they can get an advantage, they would rather make sure everybody has the same disadvantage as them. I don't know why. It's something in the human psyche which I don't really understand. One of the main reasons that people are afraid of losing their cars is status. Have a look. You can Google it. There's a painting by Holbein called The Ambassadors, and it literally is just two people standing side by side with a table full of expensive things. It is literally just a crass display of wealth. It says, look at us, we're rich. The clothes, the things that they've collected on their travels, are all on display to say, look, we're rich. The difference with them, of course, is they were genuinely rich, but it's not enough. You need to show people you're rich. You don't buy a Rolex watch to tell the time. You buy a Rolex watch to say, look at me, I'm stinking bloody rich. And the modern day status symbol is the car. And whereas before, the car was very expensive, and a posh car cost you an incredible amount of money, it gave you real status. And now it's easier because the way modern cars are financed and manufacturers have devalued their brand, which seems like a strange thing to do. Why, when you have an aspirational brand, do you bring up cheaper models? But of course they're onto something, because they know that people who don't have status will want to try and look as if they do. So they'll pay more money. People will pay more money for a 1 Series BMW than, I don't know, a Peugeot hatchback, because then they can feel part of the rich set that drive BMWs. And that's what the car does. It allows ordinary people to look slightly superior. A group of people in South Africa, well known for having expensive cars and very, very modest houses. And I asked one of them one day, why do you guys spend so much money on your cars and not buy a nicer house? And he said, only a few people see your house, but everybody sees your car. And that's the way it works. You can live in a run-down small house, but when you're sitting in the traffic, people see the BMW badge and think, wow. And so, as I said, firstly, people are afraid that that's going to be taken away from them, and then they'll just look like everybody else. And secondly, they need to know that that investment was worthwhile. They need to be seeing the advantage that they're getting for their money. And when they see you going past on a bike or getting there quicker on a train, they don't like that at all. And unfortunately, it's a sad reflection on our society that the only thing we ever judge people on is money. The success of a professional sports person or a thespian or an artist. The measure of their success is how much money have they made. And so, will we ever stop people hating cyclists? No, we won't. And the traffic will continue to increase. And frustration will become greater and greater. Until eventually, rich people do something else. And then, like sheep, all of the others will follow. If the rich people started to tell you it's really trendy to go by train, everybody would be doing it. But until then, we're just going to have to suffer the wrath of motorists. So if you know a rich person, encourage them to start cycling. And let's see if we can start a trend.